Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside. Today we have traveled south of the border. We are in North Hudson, New York, and joining me is Devon of Paradox Brewing.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Devon, for hosting us today on a super beautiful day outside, even though thankfully we're a little covered because I burned like a pale ghost. So I appreciate hearing about Paradox, the beers, and everything involved. You brought me some tasty looking beers here. I'm hiding behind the lineup. What am I starting with?
You're starting with Paradox Pilsner.
Okay.
We've been making Paradox Pils since day one, starting at our old location. It's kind of a mashup between a Czech and a German style Pilsner. Uses Tettnang and Saz hops. Just a really great drinking beer. Easy to put them away. 5% ABV. And awesome. Quickly becoming one of our best sellers.
As we do.
Cheers.
A toast. Light, crushable. Yeah, dangerous. For me. I just sit on a patio and...
It's flying this year, too. We've gotten caught in years past, coming into summer, not having quite enough inventory built up. And this is probably one of the first years in maybe 2 to 3 years where we've been, like, getting on it, like, really early before the weather starts getting warm. So we haven't ran out of stock this year yet.
Plus, with the last 2 to 3 years, with the world half shut down, then open, then closed, and I'm sure that's complicated matters,
yes.
Owning a brewery. So
just a little bit.
Yeah. So what is your role with Paradox Brewing?
So I'm our Director of Operations and title, which generally means my day-to-day is kind of doing whatever's needed to keep the facility and keep the place going. Yesterday I was in market selling beer. I work as a relief brewer occasionally. I work really closely with our advertising and graphic design agency. Sweep floors, fix what's broken, you name it, kind of whatever needs to be done. I'm not great with front of house operations because the POS system's gotten a little complicated for me to operate, but I can pour a beer.
Yeah, that's the important part, is pouring the beer and getting it to the customer, clearly, so they can enjoy what's here.
For sure.
Awesome. And so how long have you been at Paradox, and what is the history of Paradox Brewing that you're aware of?
So this summer we're actually celebrating our 10-year anniversary. So the brand will have been around for 10 years. I've been here for 9 of those 10.
Wow.
And, kind of our history was this whole enterprise is really born out of like a home brewing problem that kind of got out of control. Our owner, Paul, was stationed in the Army in Germany in the 80s. A similar origin story to a lot of other places, right? He realized that there was more out there to the world of beer, and he really fell in love with like German-style lagers and crispy boys. Mm-hmm. Came back home, did the corporate pilot thing for a couple of years, but he had a vacation house up here on Paradox Lake. Started home brewing on Paradox Lake. That got a little out of control, and kind of always wanted to open a brewery, but never really knew how to do it. Well, when he was retiring from flying, said, this is my shot. I'm going for it. I'm going to shoot my shot, and started off at our original operation, which was just a little bit farther down the road on Route 9 from where we are now. Mm-hmm. That place was like a 1,400-foot former gas station, former general store, former bait shop. It was a building that had no business being a brewery, but what we were trying to do is kind of create like a proof of concept there, right? So really small operation, 10-barrel brew house, and all we did there for our first 6 years was just kind of small batch stuff. We were able to secure some grocery store placements via some contract brewing we were engaging in, all in the with the object to prove the concept that we can sell a lot of beer and we can build a facility, frankly, that has the capacity to actually make money, right? Brewing's all economies of scale. Without a large enough system, it makes it a lot harder to really turn any sort of profit. So we proved the concept down there, built this place out in October of 2019, is when the first batch of beer ran. Late March 2020, the tasting room opened, and 2 weeks later, the tasting room closed. It was a great 2 weeks, though, let me tell you.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. I mean, we'd contacted you in 2019 about setting up an interview we were speaking with Megan at the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, okay, come by on a weekday if you can. And we're like, cool, and we'll figure something out. And then the world shut down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, sitting at home, like, hope I can still get beer. And thankfully, beer is an essential service. So.
Right. Yeah. And we were all continuing to work too, all during COVID, because we were all labeled essential workers.
But at least you survived.
Yes.
You're clearly thriving from what I could see. So.
We made it. I mean, craft beer changed a little bit. Things became a dogfight a little bit. The market's shaken in kind of some weird ways. Now there's a lot more breweries out there than there used to be. You know, there's more breweries in the state of New York right now than there are Burger Kings. So, you know, we're fighting. Excuse me, that's actually a national statistic. There's more breweries in the country than there are Burger Kings.
I think you're up to like 4,000 or 5,000 breweries in the U.S. right now, something like that.
Almost 10,000.
Wow.
And New York is second in number of breweries, only to California in actual number, second per capita to Vermont.
That's
and
changed a lot.
I think New York is going. I think we're in spitting distance of 600 breweries in the state of New York right now.
And having something like the New York State Brewing app definitely helps people discover beers. For myself, that's how I discovered you guys, was through that app.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of an aside, but, you know, part of the reason that we have so many breweries in the state is because we have a really good association that, you know, lobbies for us on behalf of the state government and things like that to really support us.
Were you guys at the Albany State Festival?
Oh, yeah.
Back in January, I believe? So, yeah. Unfortunately, we missed that one, but we went to the one in Syracuse, and that was like, whoa, this is what it should be.
That one's great. Oh, the beer festival.
Yeah, the beer festival.
That one we do, but we also do, the New York State Brewers Association does their trade show in Albany too, which is similar to like the National Craft Brewers Conference. But it's great because it's always a lot closer. I can send 4 guys down to Albany without much fuss, right?
Yeah.
But sending 4 guys to Nashville is something else entirely.
Yeah, no, an hour and a half down the road versus like a 2 or 3 hour flight.
Yes, exactly.
All that,
Hotels
that's big.
while there's a Taylor Swift concert.
Amazing. So as you mentioned, the original brewer owner is clearly a veteran.
Yes.
And you're very focused on veteran. I mean, it's clear right here on this beer.
We got a couple things going on for veterans at the moment. But yeah, we're a certified veteran-owned brewery, which means basically that we did the paperwork, right? So we had to prove that 51% of our ownership or investors had served in one of the major branches of the military, but, you know, they want to know what your rank was, what branch you served in, what years did you serve, what was your job in the military, did you do this, that, the other thing. They want to know everything. Now, theoretically, this is the federal government. You'd think they have this information, and I'm sure it does exist somewhere, but they want you to tell them.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they don't want people stealing valor, basically, to be like, no, we're totally veteran-owned.
Yes, and that is, that's kind of a weird thing because we are a certified veteran-owned brewery, and we like to say it's definitely part of who we are, and it's a big part of who we are, but it's not the only thing that we are as a brand, right? Just for no other reason than that we don't want to engage in that stolen valor thing, but not everyone on our staff is a veteran. No one on our sales force is a veteran, right? So it can make it, if you don't kind of acknowledge that and be really forthright about it, it can make it awkward for the sales guys to go out and sell as a certified veteran-owned brewery where it's like, well, I didn't serve though. You know what I mean? So we are careful about it. We try not to be too in your face about it, but engage in a lot of support. So I can tell you about, it's always product-based for us for support, right? And there's a couple things we do pretty much every year. I'll start all the way at the end is Patriot Pilsner, and we teamed up with the PGA of Northeastern New York for their Project Hope initiative with that. And what Hope does is it gets disabled combat veterans into adaptive golf. So it's all about them kind of learning the game of golf, but in a way that they can play. And they're very cognizant of the Hope Foundation, that is. They're very cognizant of making sure their PGA certified instructors get another level of certification to teach adaptive golf. Because everyone thinks adaptive golf, you're dealing with a guy who's lost a limb or a guy or a lady who may have lost a limb or maybe is wheelchair bound, but they want to make sure they're cognizant of not all injuries can be seen, right? Sometimes injuries are internal, so really cognizant of giving people the right training and getting them into golf. That's actually our Paradox Pilsner that we white label for them. We donate a portion of each case sold to the Hope Foundation, and our local distributor, Saratoga Eagle Sales and Service, is matching our donation per case.
Yeah, I can imagine too, like PTSD is a huge thing after serving in the military from things I've read, from things I've heard. So it's just, and golf is
what better than golf
a
to
common
not
game
relax
in any way.
you?
So I picked up disc golf during the pandemic, and it's like, it's not as bad as golf, but it's just as frustrating.
Yeah, you love that game and simultaneously just hate it so much.
But yeah, it's nice to hear that you are, we're supporting the troops because most of us were part of the troops, like that 51%.
Yep, for sure. So we are doing Patriot Pilsner this year. Generally, that's available at golf courses, right? The PGA is helping us sell it in. The idea is that goes on the beverage cart. Recently, we released Captain Jack. It's a My Box style lager. we teamed up with the National Desert Storm Desert Shield War Memorial in Washington, D.C., and they're trying to raise funds right now to build a memorial for both Gulf Wars right next to the Vietnam Memorial, actually. And what we did with that beer was we solicited donations of all the ingredients, so all the malt, all the hops, obviously not water because we're pulling that out of a well, but all the malt, all the hops, and all the labels. We covered the cans and the labor to go into the beer to try to maximize the donation to the Desert Storm Desert Shield Memorial. So this is in conjunction with them and also Bold Republic Brewing in Texas. The woman who owns the place, Captain Jack, was her father, and he was actually the first casualty of the first Desert Storm operation. He was a military helicopter pilot. So she came up with this beer to support the building of the memorial, started doing it just with her brewery, and then said, hey, if anybody else is interested, we can spread this around the country. So they kind of write the recipe, we brew the beer, we do our own take on the label, and get as much money to the memorial fund as possible.
I'm starting to love seeing all these charity beers that are coming about. Like you mentioned, the two you already do. And then there's the Pink Boot Society, which is encouraging women in beer. Brave Noise is women speaking out against, unfortunately, this is predominantly male industry, and crap happens, unfortunately. As I'm using the word crap very lightly here.
Yeah.
And so it's to support those ladies. Black is beautiful. It's, beer is becoming an important part of society where it comes to donating and finding a good cause. And clearly, you guys have this cause, but you also have more charitable work you do, right?
Oh my God, tons. So not pictured here in the lineup, every year we do a collaborative beer with West Point called Go Army Beat Navy. We kind of do plant a flag in the sand in that regard. We donate some beer to the Army-Navy football game every year for that. And then also the proceeds of selling that beer go towards building homes for heroes, which builds a new home for a disabled combat veteran every 11 days. So they'll do things like wider doorways, lowered cabinets, lowered appliances, things like that. Away from some of the veterans' causes, in the past we've done beers that benefit pollinators, tons of local work. And then right now we also have out this beer over here called We're All Different and That's Okay. That benefits the North Country Gender Alliance, which helps kids who are trying to come out and kind of find themselves in the Adirondack Park. Or, well, not necessarily in the Adirondack Park, I should say, in the North Country. With just support. It's basically helping them to build a support network.
More or less above capital region, towards the border.
Yep, exactly.
So, no, it's wonderful to hear, and I always, whenever I go to brewery and I see the charity beer, that's first, and then I'll enjoy everything else.
Yeah.
And if I'm buying some cans, I gotta at least buy 2 of the charity beers, because it's so small what I'm doing, but it is elating to do something like that.
And if guys like you didn't buy the beers, it would limit our ability to make the donations and our ability to raise awareness for these causes and things like that. So, it's like a crowdfunding thing, right?
Yeah.
Every little purchase of those beers helps do something good.
Plus, I get a lot less emails from you guys when I buy charity beers than when I actually donate to charity.
Yeah, exactly. We will not put you on a list. You will not get our newsletter just by buying the beers.
I love animals, and I donate to the SPCA. I don't need an email every 2 weeks.
Right, yes.
Awesome. What's this next beer I'm going to be having here?
All right, this is also what I'm drinking, albeit in a larger format, because I can't put this beer down this summer.
Okay.
So this is our Great Kölsch Affair Blood Orange. For the past couple years, we've made the unfruited version of this Kölsch. And this was the first year it actually made it out of the tasting room. So we've been doing full production runs of that Kölsch for the past 3 years, selling 30 barrels right out our own door.
Wow.
Every year in August, we do kind of what we call the beer fantasy draft, where we all sit around and we talk about what worked last year, what's kind of coming up trend-wise, what weird ingredient do you want to work with, what silly name do you have for a beer. There's plenty of awful ideas that come out in this process, too. Every year, too, somebody's feelings get hurt because you're like, we're not doing that. It's just, we're not. I'm sorry, I know you really think it's a good idea, but it's bad. But I said this year, since the Kölsch has been doing so well, let's make it a seasonal. So we did make that a seasonal. We were able to get Hannaford, a local chain of supermarkets, to bite on bringing it in, which once you got grocery store distribution on a beer, you know you can turn it on a regular basis in the brewery. So we were making a lot more Kölsch this year. Being that we were going to make the Kölsch as a seasonal, we decided, through talking with our grocery store partners, that we should do a variant on it. We came up with Blood Orange just because we thought it would work pretty nicely with the Kölsch base, citrusy. And I'm telling you, man, this beer's been selling better than the Kölsch.
Wow.
the unfruited Kölsch.
It's not a bad problem to have.
No.
Awesome. As we do.
Yeah, cheers.
Toast.
So this isn't like we took our Kölsch and dumped blood orange extract in it. Like this liquid has been in the same room as a blood orange.
Yeah, no,
it's been in touch with like an actual blood orange. And we're not going quite to the level of like getting a big crate of blood oranges and juicing them all ourselves. We're buying blood orange puree and we're buying individually quick frozen blood orange zest, but we are using actual fruit to make the beer, which make sure we don't have that artificial edge.
Yeah, I'm assuming you guys trying to say as local as possible. It's not.
Well, you can't really say local to New York with a blood orange.
But you're staying in the USA, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, okay. I mean, really all the citrus we have access to in that kind of quantity basically either comes out of Florida or California.
Yeah, everything below the Mason-Dixon line, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, citrus might even be a little farther south.
Yeah. Probably Atlanta below.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably safer.
Oh yeah, wow! It's not like punchy, citrusy, like bittery orange. It's a nice balanced
subtle.
orange.
And that's something we do. You'll find that with all of our beers. I'm not trying to sell you one beer. I want to sell you 5 beers.
Yes.
I want to keep you coming back.
Or if you're driving, one beer, but buy 6 cans.
Yes, exactly. Whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Right. I want to get the beer into you as many times as possible. So. A lot of the beers we do are an exercise in balance. Even our IPAs, we're not the brewery that's selling $25 4-packs of IPAs. We're selling $10 or $12 4-packs of IPAs because we like to take a little bit of a lighter hand. Does that lead to us sometimes not getting like the ravest reviews because we're making like just sessionable beers? Yeah, sometimes we're not the brewery that's going to make a really loud noise with our product. We like to make something that's really highly, highly enjoyable, highly, highly drinkable.
Yeah, for sure. And I've had your beers before. I'm having them again. I'm going to have them after we're done recording. Solid beers so far every time I've had them. So, and I'm sure I've gotten a 4-pack at least from the craft beer station in just outside of Plattsburgh.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, it's I love discovering new beers. That's in my nature, and you guys have quite the lineup from flagships to seasonals. What made you guys decide like these are going to be flagships, and then these are kind of where our seasonals are going to go?
This is the first time in probably maybe like about 4 years that we've actually engaged in doing like seasonals again. For a long time, beer was what do you got that's new? What do you got that's new? What do you got that's new? And no one wanted to see, a seasonal. Oh, I've had that already. I'm not putting it back on draft. I'm buying 1/6 of that beer. I'm not going to buy a half barrel. I'm not going to rebuy the 1/6, And it seems like after COVID that shifted a little bit. So at the behest of some of our accounts, some of our grocery partners, and also my sales team was like, you need to give me something to build, right? You can't just keep giving me these one and done, one and done, one and done. I need something that I'm going to have for a couple months so I can go out there and really build the following for that beer. So that spurred us to do more seasonals this year. Also, sometimes these one and done beers, it can be tough to market them adequately, right? You're doing one, it's only going to be around for a couple of weeks. Well, how much marketing lift are you going to do on a beer that you know is only going to be available for, let's say, 2.5 weeks? You don't want to put a ton of resources into it. So doing seasonals seems like it's going to be more the way we go probably even next year. And they may not all be like really long seasonals. They might not be like 4-month blocks, but like probably 2-month blocks at least, just to kind of make it worth it for us. As our distribution network gets larger too, our local distributor's really good about picking up pretty much everything we make and getting it quickly. But some of the guys who are a little bit farther afield might need another couple of weeks on that beer before they can even get a truck up here to do their regular order, because maybe they only come up once or twice a month. Yeah. By doing seasonals or by giving these beers longer in the market, we give them an opportunity to be able to get these beers, sell them, and again, build the market and do the thing.
Well, I mean, we're coming up to July, so it's not long till pumpkin ales start showing up.
Not out of this place.
It's crazy. Or winter ales, like in September, you're like, no, it's not winter yet.
Our fest beer comes out August 15th.
Yeah. And that's right in line for Oktoberfest and stuff
Yeah,
like that,
but it's like, come on. I'm not drinking fest beers in August. Like, I'll say here, this is a scoop for all beer inside. Paradox Brewery is releasing their fest beer August 15th. I'm not drinking it till September 1st.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel right.
Yes.
For some reason.
I'm not trying to rush the summer away.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to snow for 6 months. Let's enjoy the sunshine while we got it.
Yeah, no, we're just 2 hours across the border, we know the winter you get here.
Yeah.
Probably not as severe as we get sometimes.
Not
but
quite as bad.
You're covered in the mountains. You're in a little pocket, so you're going to get nailed.
Yes, and we
sure.
do actually, it's weird, we get nailed here.
Yeah.
The way there's like, we're kind of in like a little bit of like a valley type situation. The way the wind blows up between the mountains, we're in like, the brewery's in like this weird snow band that just gets creamed. But what ends up happening with all the pine trees is they fall on the power lines, we lose power like all winter. It's a good thing it's our slow season.
Yeah,
because
sure.
if that happened in the summer, it would totally derail production.
Somehow there's an ice storm in the summer. You're like, what's going on?
Real bad thunderstorm can mess us up.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. Weather's just crazy. And when it comes to that, because I know you guys have a natural water source, when it comes to like with everything that's happening, are you still confident in your Adirondack water source of it sticking around for a while?
Yeah, we've had the well guys out here, and they've told us that there is plenty of water down in that well, and brewing's a water intense business, but we have a $750,000 wastewater treatment plant on site. Because we're in the Adirondack Park and there's no sewer service and there's no town municipal plant, we have to be our own town municipal plant. Mm-hmm. So even though we're a pretty water intense business, a lot of the water we use, we're treating on site, getting out into our leach field, which through the natural causes eventually ends up, leach field's over there, well's over there, hill goes this way. Eventually, all that water trickles through all the natural granite that's here and goes right back into that well.
So then you guys barely have to treat your water when you're brewing then?
We don't do any sort of reverse osmosis. We don't do any sort of chlorination or anything of that nature. The only thing we do with our water is a light sediment filtration, and then sometimes we'll add different different like minerals and stuff like that into the water if we're brewing different beers, right? Something like Beaver Bite, Overbite, Booch, Tronic, a lot of calcium chloride going into that water. Something like Pilsner or Patriot Pilsner, we're hardly doing any mineral additions because we want to keep it really soft. We're doing like just a little bit of gypsum.
Okay, awesome. Paradox, pretty unique name. Who created Paradox and why is it called Paradox?
So we're called Paradox because Paul was brewing on Paradox Lake for the longest time. It naturally lends itself to being a good brewery name. It has an X in it that makes it cool. But also, we're trying to figure out who we are with that a little bit now, and that we're trying to use that to influence the things we do, right? So that you can go really deep with a Paradox, right? Is it kind of the juxtaposition of sweetness from malt and bitterness from hops? Is it making a really loud double IPA, but also making it very sessionable? So it's like, it's the name of the lake, it's where we're from, but also it's like influences how we do things, right?
Yeah, it's the mindset.
Yes.
You're living in a paradox, and brewing with the science behind it is a paradox in a sense when you think about it.
Yes, absolutely.
You're just grabbing water, you're throwing in an organism, you're throwing in some more stuff, it farts out booze, and you're happy. So
yes.
I think I have the shirt, it's like, well, we have to save the water because beer's in water, water's in beer.
Water's in beer.
We want, whoever said money can't buy happiness is a liar because they didn't clearly buy beer.
That's right.
So, awesome. You guys have quite the kitchen inside.
Oh yeah,
do you guys have food and beer pairings? Do you have waiters and waitresses who make suggestions? Like,
so we have a full wait staff that helps our customers inside. Mm-hmm. You can see the outdoor space we're in right now is large enough that we can't really send waiters around constantly. Yeah. So we don't necessarily do like table service outside, but what we do outside is we man 2 bars. There's a bartender there who can get you your beer. You can go up to the bar and get it. And then, we'll have like little noshy kind of stuff outside, pretzels and things like that.
Still,
inside available is the full pizza kitchen. Stuff coming off the smoker, which kind of rotates based on, kind of what we do. We're trying to change our menu over around every 10 days or so right now. So I think this week we're doing chickens, smoked chickens. Next week it might be pulled pork. A couple weeks later it might be brisket, just kind of moving that around. And then the pizza kitchen, pizza kitchen's a pizza kitchen.
I mean, even crossing your border guard, he's like, what are you doing? Oh, we're going to Paradox to interview them. And he's like, oh, have the pizza and grab a beer. We're like, huh?
So when we were kind of getting the kitchen up and running initially, we ate a lot of pizza because there was a lot of emphasis put on finding, it was the dough that we were looking to do correctly. We ended up finding a company in Vermont, I believe, that makes the dough in Vermont, but kind of to like the way they would make it down in the city. They pay attention to their water profile going into the dough as well. So we can make sure we're like kind of getting that. It's all about the crust, man.
Yeah.
It's got to be crispy and you can't over cheese it. Otherwise that pie ends up floppy.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that. And pizza is just such an easy thing to make, and it's one of the more profitable foods out there.
It's definitely one of the most profitable foods, but it's not as easy to. It's easy to make, but it's just as easy to screw it up.
Okay. Yeah.
And everybody's got, like, one of the dangers is with pizza too. It's like everybody's got an opinion, and everybody has a strong opinion too on pizza.
Well, same thing with beer. A lot of people are a lot more vocal than you think.
At the end of the beer day, though, if you drink enough of the bad beers, you're gonna, like, your mood's gonna improve.
Yeah.
Pizza doesn't necessarily have that euphoric effect quite like alcohol does.
That's true. And what's some of your favorites right now coming out of the kitchen?
I like our smoked turkey sandwich. I go with that a lot of the time. But, I'd be lying if I told you I didn't not feel like cooking occasionally and bring a pizza home from work.
I mean, you're here. Why not do it, right?
Yeah.
So, what's beer number 3 I got here?
Beer number 3, you got our latest release, Booch Tronic.
Okay.
This beer is a full production run as well. We've been making this beer. This is, I believe, its 3rd year in existence. This is another one that we have a lot of trouble getting out of the tasting room. This one has made it into market, but it's limited amounts. It's generally always out for us in the summer, which means we can sell a lot through our tasting room. But, this is one of those big dippas, man. It's a study in Citra and Motueka. Not huge on the alcohol, 6.3%, but very punchy with the hop selection we make.
Awesome. A toast. Yeah, it's right up my alley. I mean, I'll drink almost any beer. It's very rare that I'll be like, this is gross. Even smoked beer, some people are like, they're gross. I'm like, no, you have to enjoy them in the right place.
I don't know about that, man. 2 things Paradox is not going to be making is a smoked beer and a chili beer. Not as long as I'm working here.
Although I've had some fantastic jalapeno Pilsners, so.
I can't abide it.
No, it's not for everybody, but it's for me who likes enjoying
What would
beers.
the Germans say if they knew we were putting jalapeno in Pilsner?
I mean, if you're going by the Reinskeblatt, then that's one thing. So it's beer's just so simple, but you can easily overcomplicate it with like some of the wild IPAs out there now, and it's just. I've had your beaver bite multiple times, and I'm like, this is what an IPA is supposed to taste like for me. So.
It's not completely juice. There's a little bit of bitterness there.
I saw on your website you guys do contract work as well.
Yeah, we do a little bit of contract work. Beer clients. Our sweet spot is kind of the smaller brand that's looking to dabble in contract brewing, but that doesn't necessarily need like 100 and 300 barrel batches of beer. The idea is we're kind of that middle ground between either going to a larger contract facility or building out your larger facility. We learned a lot about that from kind of our experience as contract brewing. When we were with Two Roads, they were making our product, allowed us to get our grocery store authorizations, and we kind of tried to use what we worked on with them to influence how we do things, albeit on a much smaller scale.
So if, like, let's say an influencer were to come in and have the funds and be like, I want to make my own beer, come on in?
Yeah, sure, totally.
That's awesome. Love hearing that.
Totally. I mean, we have minimums, right?
Yeah.
You got to make it worth me putting you on our paperwork, our production manager getting you into the schedule, scaling up the recipe. Like, the juice has got to be worth the squeeze. But our minimum is 420 barrels a year.
Okay.
Which represents turning our brew house over an average of once a month.
That's nothing when you think about it.
Right.
So that's not bad at all.
If you can't sell that amount of beer, maybe it's not time for you to contract.
For sure. We're starting to notice, as a beer show, quite the rise in hard seltzers. How do you guys find you're adapting to the rise of the popularity of the seltzer? Yeah,
so we've had our own seltzer brand, Vaporwave. It's the most 80s seltzer in the game. We've had that from pretty early on when seltzers first started, and we've been developing that product over the last couple years. We don't do a ton of sales with it, to be honest with you. The market's kind of flooded for like small seltzers, especially, the space is really dominated by White Claw and the big guys and stuff like that. I think there's room in the seltzer space still for that long tail, right? And if you have a product with a story, a product with some special ingredients, I think you can get somewhere. Full disclosure, and maybe I shouldn't even be admitting this, but All Beer Inside's getting all the scoops today. We haven't really done that with our seltzer and made, a great story and this, that, and the other thing. But we need a seltzer to sell in the tasting room that's gluten-free. This one tastes amazing. It tastes like a high chew candy. But, it's not necessarily our thing. We do a lot of contract seltzer work, though.
Okay.
And some of the brands we've worked with, one of them is very tied up in being from New York City. They're called Queensy. QSNY, like Queens, New York.
Yeah.
They're kind of like cocktail-based seltzers, and but a lot of their branding is New York focused, and they've done well because of that, because they have a story to tell.
Yeah.
Another brand that we don't work with currently, but that we did for a while, was called Lunar Hard Seltzers, and they did a line of Asian American inspired flavors in their hard seltzers. So they were doing things like yuzu and plum and things like that. So, you know, really, if there's a story to be told, you have a niche market to focus on, you can do something with seltzer.
Yeah.
But if you say, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to take on White Claw, you're not. Mark Anthony Group's the third biggest brewing company in the country right now, and all they're making is White Claw.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get it, man.
We tried them as a group, and I'm just like, all I taste is chemical. Like,
Yeah,
it's not. This, honestly, craft beer has ruined me for basic beers, because I could just taste the chemical, I could taste the additives, I could taste the preservatives, and I still don't with these. I know the shelf life is a lot shorter, and I got to buy more to support local, which is this is what the show is about, which is I'm about, is supporting local. But I'd rather pay for a premium product than enjoy it.
And you know, shelf life isn't necessarily shorter without additives. Our lager beers, we give a 180-day code to anything yellow. So Pilsner, Helles Pilsner, not blood orange Kölsch, but our regular Kölsch, our Daughter White Lager will get 180 days. You know, we invested in enough technology where our total package oxygen levels are extremely low. These beers aren't hopped so highly to the degree that you're going to just lose all the hop character and be left with just like kind of a malty mess. These beers hold on a little bit longer, and we've been like slowly and carefully like upping the code dates on these through, frankly, drinking beers that are abused. We put them in the incubator.
Okay.
And like cook them for a couple days and then chill them back down to do like a forced aging test. And as we get better and better using our new equipment, we figured out, hey, we can give these lagers a longer run, and our wholesalers love that.
Yeah, for sure, because it's easier for them to just pick up once instead of over and over and over.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a cost analysis of them doing it too.
I know I can drop Paradox Pilsner into maybe an account that doesn't see quite as much foot traffic now, maybe moves a little bit slower, and I know maybe it'll take them a while to sell that case, but the beer will be okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm always worried is certain beer stores just don't check their dates of the beers, and it's like, oh, come on. And then I don't check it myself because I'm like, oh, I got to buy stuff quick and go, and that screws me.
You gotta slow down the beer store.
You guys have quite the amount of events too. I've seen open mic nights, local bands, release date events.
Yep.
What made you guys decide to focus on like having so many events here in this space?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. Obviously, our margins are higher in the tasting room, right? We make more money here than we do selling beer to wholesale and even doing events in market. But just creating events in general, we're not in a location that gets a ton of foot traffic. No one's happening upon Paradox Brewery, right? You have to know that there's something going on. So we want to attract people from the surrounding area, right? We want to attract you guys coming down from the border in the northern parts of New York, but really, you know, also out of the capital region, coming up out of the Hudson Valley. Even people places farther away that maybe have vacation homes or are vacationing up here from New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, places like that. But we got to give them something, right? So you got to have something going on. Oh, Paradox has live music. You know, we'll be up there for vacation. Let's check them out.
No, that's awesome. And, you know, having those open mic nights, it's maybe you're discovering the next, they said Taylor Swift or something, for all you know. So
we have some good acts. I don't know about the next Taylor Swift, but we'll see.
Yeah.
If we get royalties, yes.
Yeah, that'd be great. As for the outdoor space, have you guys ever considered, you know, hosting a wedding or anything like that?
Look around.
Yeah.
We have a wedding booked at the end of the summer, which
Amazing.
is kind of what spurred the upfit of the space we're in right now. We get requests constantly for hosting weddings, retirement parties, rehearsal dinners. Kids' birthday parties, oddly enough, have been somewhat popular, and I think that's more due to like the amount of space because I don't think they're here for the beer, but maybe the adults are. But all kinds of stuff, right? And enough requests came in that was like, we kind of have to do this.
Yeah, it's the same thing as you're mentioning, like cost analysis. We're going to make money if we do this.
Right.
And that's the important part is paying your staff, keeping as many people on staff as possible, especially with how crazy the world's going on right now, is we got to keep these people here and happy.
Yeah.
So
The only thing is you got to get through construction before any of that profit matters.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
And we'll get to that later on about what's the future of Paradox hold. I also noticed it's called the Handle Barley.
Yep.
In September.
Yep. So we actually do a collaborative glass with them a lot of the time, and everybody will kind of start and end their ride here. We'll be buying pints for anybody participating, and I think that partnership's going into its second or third year. I can't remember exactly on that one.
It from what I saw, it looked like a 2-day event on the website, and it looks very popular from your social media presence of the people I see attending. It looks like it's a pretty good attendance from what I'm seeing.
For sure, and it's a great area for cyclists to ride.
The 9 right there.
It's hilly a little. It's a little hilly, so it's not like an easy flat ride, but great views. Yeah. Relatively roads that are generally a little quieter, which is nice when you're riding.
Yeah. Oh, the 9's a great road to drive on. I've done it a bunch. I've legit drove it from Chazy all the way to Saratoga on the 9 because I'm like, I don't feel like doing the 87 today, so. It's a nice scenic route. It's not like, it doesn't feel like just highway, but then even just highway, I find in the state of New York and Vermont, they're just beautiful views you're taking on the 87 or the 89.
Especially when you're up here.
Yeah. Yeah, like the Adirondacks until you hit the capital, and then it's like,
I was going to say, views fall off a little bit after Saratoga. But
then after Albany, you have the Catskills coming up and stuff, and you're like, oh, nice views again.
But then you're in the Hudson Valley.
Yeah. So it is quite the trip. Anybody who's coming down from Montreal to New York, this is the highway you take. Stop for a beer on the way.
This is the spot to stop.
This is a good place to stop for lunch. If the border's too busy and you're stressed out, noon, right here.
We can relax you.
So, just enjoy a beer outside. So, awesome. And mentioning that, your social media presence is becoming stronger from what I've seen the last couple of years on the website, from when we first tried to book the interview to us finally getting to do this today. Yeah. Your online media has really jumped up. How'd you come about that?
It's about a couple different things, right? You always want to get better. It's about continuous improvement and always doing everything, figuring out how to do it a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better, kind of every day, really. The big shift with social media came about right when COVID started. We pretty quickly realized that everything's going to get shut down. We're not going to have bars and bartenders to talk about our product for us. We're going to have limited interaction at beer stores. Samplings are gone. We need to find a way to reach our customers in a very, thought out and deliberate way. So during COVID, we not only didn't lay anybody off, but we hired. And we hired our first social media marketing manager. And she took us from a place where we weren't to a place that we surely needed to be, right? We had multiple people doing the Facebook. Nobody knew who was answering. Nobody knew who was writing the post. The whole thing. This is true across all channels, but I'm going to cherry pick Facebook a little bit. So it quickly became evident that, we needed to do something. Meg worked with us for years, and then we decided that Meg was leaving us to go kind of do a freelance thing. And we said now is the time to kind of do the next evolution on that. And we just hired our first advertising and design agency who has over a 20-person team that's now helping us with our kind of outbound campaigns. We're still very much in the driver's seat. It puts me on Zoom a minimum of once a week now, just to kind of make sure everything's going right. Here's the posts for the next 10 days. All of these need to be either, approved or edited. So there's a little bit more, it's been made to be a little bit more deliberate, right? But I think we're getting a lot better results because of it. We hired these people to do professional videography, product photography, which we were dabbling in product photography before, but we went from somebody who likes to take photos in-house doing it to hiring a freelance product photographer to getting in with the agency. So it's all kind of just going in that stepwise fashion to get better and better.
Yeah, I'm sure with your current person too, you never thought about maybe including a beaver with the beaver bite, and you're like, oh, okay, well they somehow have the beaver crushing the can perfectly in a photo.
That's kind of what you hire them for, right? You hire this 20-person team.
Yeah.
You kind of just hire them for ideas. I mean, intellectual property that's their trade.
It's amazing what some people were able to shift to, and you guys hiring during the pandemic, that's huge. So that's
had to be done. I will not tell you it was easy or that it's been easy, but sometimes it's got to be done.
And then through your website, did you guys have an online sales portal for people who want to pick up?
We never went direct to customer.
Okay.
We did allow beer pickups if you kind of called in or emailed in. But our wholesale supplier partner relationships are something that's really important to us. Yeah. And a lot of how we're able to build this place is because of that wholesale sales thing. We don't want to cut these guys out. They got staff, they got drivers, they got salespeople, they got admin, they got staff they need to hire, and they rely on our products, them making money on our products to be able to do all of that. And if that tier went away, we'd have to pick up the slack, and I don't want to be a beer wholesaler.
Do you guys have like a mug club or anything like that?
We do have a mug club, yep. It's called the Interior Outpost Society because, it's a paradox.
Yeah.
Interior outposts are also available in the Adirondacks. So when you're hiking, you can get into one of the lean-tos, which the forest rangers call interior outposts. And it's, I believe we're up to $175 a year. Gets you a 20-ounce pour for a 16-ounce price, free beer on your birthday, some swag, and we throw a banger of a mug club party every year.
That's awesome. I love places that have that kind of stuff.
Membership is still open for the mug club. We used to have it closed like just before summer, and we realized that like the throngs of summer crowds would come up, and all of these people would be like pretty upset that they couldn't get in the mug club. So one year we started like making some exceptions for people who like really like stated their case well, and then we were finally like, why are we doing this to ourselves? Just run open enrollment for longer.
Yeah, it sounds like you're almost cutting yourself off at the knees for no reason.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we have that realization sometimes.
It's a paradox.
Why are we doing this?
Yeah, it's a paradox in itself when you think about it.
This is causing us hardship, and we did it to ourselves. What are we doing? It was like scaling back our menu. We used to have a huge menu, and we were having trouble staffing the kitchen, and the kitchen was getting stressed out, and the servers were getting stressed out. Like, why don't we just scale back the menu and rotate it? And everybody's like, yeah. And the customer's like, oh, this is fun. The menu's changing. And I'm like, is everyone happy right now? Why didn't we do this a year ago?
For sure. I got one last beer here. So what am I having here?
You are drinking the Industry.
Okay.
And bold statement. You heard it here first on All Beer Inside. Not all IPAs have to be hazy.
Yeah.
They can be clear. They used to be clear, as a matter of fact, kids.
Yeah.
But the Industry, it's our take on a West Coast style IPA, and I'll be forthright. We didn't go totally West Coast. We didn't go enamel stripping, resinous bitter with it, because I still need you to buy 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
And you don't want what is it, bitter beer face? I believe.
Yes. Oh man, that's a big throwback. Yeah. And that beer's taken a little while to take off for us. It is one of our one and dones. We first kind of brought it into market and released it, and it was like stumbling a little bit, right? It was trying to like get its legs under it. And all of a sudden our local wholesaler took on a second order of it, and it seems like every bar is putting it on now. And it's like, okay, so maybe it just needed a little bit of time, similar to like our seasonals.
Yeah.
It needed some time to get out there for people to try it, for it to get its legs under it.
Awesome. A total host. Yeah.
And that's why we end you with that one. A little more bitter, definitely more hop presence.
Yeah, but that's not like I said, bitter beer face.
Right.
It's, I mean, for me, there's people who are not IPA fans, which
This is not for the non-IPA fans.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well,
Booch, you could potentially, you could like convert a non-IPA fan with Booch Tronic.
Yeah.
You're not converting somebody with the Industry. They're going to buy that because they know that they like IPAs that are a little bit more bitter.
I find your Beaver Bite 2 would be a good introduction to slowly getting somebody into an IPA.
For sure.
So
more maybe traditional type of IPA.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to mention earlier, you guys are very dog friendly from what I'm seeing. I see a garbage can with the poopy bags.
Yep,
and
they're all over.
Big open area. 2 dogs roaming around freely. So.
Yep, that was Sam and Oliver here earlier for their cameo. Yeah, definitely dog friendly. We can't. The health department won't allow us dogs inside, but the pavilion, both pavilions and the lawn are fair game for dogs, and all the decks.
Yeah.
I say decks now because now there's multiple.
They even got like the water station where you could easily fill up a dog bowl and everything. It's
And I just went around this morning. I went and found all like the loaner dog bowls and poured them out and ran them through the dishwasher. So we're ready for the busy weekend.
Yeah. Plus those are just festing grounds for mosquitoes. And
yes,
that's going to happen here. So amazing. Before we end this, what's the future for Paradox?
I mean, we touched on some of the stuff kind of during the interview, right? We're just changing around the way we do our product portfolio. So look for more beers in the coming years from us that are going to stick around in market for a little while. They won't necessarily be flashes in the pan. Obviously, we're still building. We haven't stopped building this place since construction started. This new pavilion that we're sitting in right now is going to be all enclosed with windows along the outside and be available for your events. We did just finish the deck off the pavilion. Within the next couple of years, our lower pavilion will be getting finished in a similar fashion to this, and probably the bandstand within a couple of years after that. But some of the big things going on this year is ahead of our 10-year anniversary, we're doing a complete rebrand.
Oh, okay.
We've developed a new logo for the brewery. All of our labels are getting redone, and that's going to kind of all kick off on July 29th with our 10-year anniversary party. That's when we'll be revealing the new logo, the new look and feel, and tons to come after that. We're still early days. All we've done so far is pick the logo.
Yeah.
So we haven't even done any label work yet. That actually doesn't start till next week.
Plus, you have the other side is that maybe additional spill-on parking at some point if it's required.
We have 3 acres across the street from our main 15-acre property that we can turn into a parking lot. We're currently building a salt structure over there for when we have to do all of our parking here at the brewery. It turns out to be a lot of salting and sanding everywhere. So yeah, I mean, and who knows what projects we'll come up with when things are a little bit slower over the winter. That's when kind of ideas tend to manifest for us.
It sounds like there's a big future at Paradox for you guys.
We surely hope so. You know, we're circling the wagons right now because the beer market's a little bit tough out there, but we're really focusing on New York, going really deep into our New York market. Starting next year, we'll be looking to trickle out a little bit more.
Just a couple of states left and right type thing.
Contiguous.
Yeah.
Territory's got a touch.
Yeah. Plus, it's just easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I understand the U.S. is, I mean, it's not as bad as we are in Canada where your beer can't cross a provincial or state border, or it's little easier.
It's a little easier, but you got to be privy to the laws in that state. Yeah. And what ends up being weird is like your go-to-market strategy's got to change depending on the state. Like you go into New Jersey, we can't do what we normally do, which is like get a grocery store online for volume. There's no big win like that in New Jersey. So now we got to figure out something else.
Start at like smaller gas station type thing. And
right,
work your way
but
out.
it ends up being weird.
Yeah. But still, you guys sound like, you just don't want to stay in the Adirondack, Essex County. You guys want to get out there.
Oh, no, we're going.
Yeah.
We're going
awesome.
places.
Love hearing that. Devon, thank you very, very much for our talk today. Really appreciate you taking time out of your very clearly busy schedule to speak about Paradox Brewing, the history and the beer and everything behind it. I look forward to grabbing a meal and a beer after. For those who are looking for Paradox or watching the channel, where can they find you?
All around New York State, really, from the Canadian border all the way down to just north of New York City. And we go as far west as Syracuse, and we go all the way up to the Vermont and Massachusetts border on the east side. Also, there's a brand finder on our website. So if you go to paradoxbrewery.com/brand-finder, you can just type in your zip code wherever you live or happen to be, set your radius, and it'll pull up everything that's available.
And your social media handles?
At Paradox Brewery, all across.
Amazing. All that's going to be in the show notes. As for us, allbeerinside.com is the website. At allbeerinside on all social media. And as I say at the end of all episodes, drink craft, not crap.